Welcome to the show. Yet another episode of Perceptional Imprints, and I have today Darya with me. Darya, welcome on the show, and I'm super happy to have you on the show. And thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
And Darya, why don't you introduce us and let us know what you do, and explain us about your journey of what you do and the experience.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
So I am a vision creation coach. That's my official title. I coach individuals, I facilitate workshops, and I'm a speaker as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I am starting a journey as a performing artist, but that's another branch,
That's
another
nice.
shelf that we can open and come back to.
Awesome.
In a nutshell, I am doing mindset coaching with individuals.
Okay.
I work with people's dreams. I work with launching or helping launch people's dreams and then helping them take the steps to get there.
Mm-hmm.
The mindset piece comes in because I find we all have dreams, but not all of us go after them or get boggled up at some point as we're traveling and journeying towards those dreams. So I help individuals overcome limiting mindsets, beliefs, and one of the main tools that I love using is visualization. So as a vision creation coach, individuals come to me when they're at a threshold in their life. Mostly I work with entrepreneurs, business owners that have already reached a certain level of success, let's say, in their life. And now they've reached a certain level because they envisioned it at some point. They were 25 and they had this dream of creating something. And now they're 40, 45, or 50. And they're asking themselves, now what?
Okay.
I just created this company, I am about to exit it, or I am about to retire, or I'm about to make some kind of shift, and I can feel there's more inside of me. I can feel I'm meant for something bigger, but I don't know exactly what that is, and that's where the vision piece comes in. And I work with them to be deliberate about what kind of life that they can design, create by design, that they can fall in love with, that they would triumphantly, as one of my mentors says, sign their name on it.
Wow.
And that life is made up of many, many pieces. So it is not just their career, and very often they had spent their lives dedicated into creating some kind of empire, some kind of big accomplishment career-wise, while all the other pieces might have been lacking a little bit. So when we sit down, let's look at the whole spectrum of what a successful, fulfilling life that you would fall in love with look like at your career, but your creative expression, your health, mental, physical, emotional, your love life, the kind of relationship you want to have with your kids, with your family, and your lifestyle. How do you want to live that life? How you spend your time. So all of those pieces.
Could be any dream that you bring. Is it like you bring dreams to reality, or is it like there's a process that happens?
It depends where the individual is in their journey. Sometimes they'll come because they're about to launch something new. So there is already an idea of a dream, and we go through a journey of bringing into clarity what that dream will look like when it comes into place. So often a person will have a dream, but they somewhere don't feel like, they feel a little bit stuck in moving towards it, or they are not sure how can all of the pieces of my life fit elegantly together with that dream. So we paint this picture for them. Other times, which happens very often, an individual who's quite accomplished comes, but they're like, I feel like a life can be my oyster right now, but I don't know what oyster I want, and I don't know which direction I want to go into.
Okay.
And both are fun to work with. So in the first case, someone already has like a dream, and we're launching it. In the other case, a lot of more groundwork needs to be done to peel off the layers of what does this person really care about, what makes them come alive, what's in their, like unlocking what's in their soul that wants to show itself. And we go on a journey together. I have a program that I take people through.
And I'm super curious, is it like, because you talked about if you have a dream, then you want to see yourself somewhere. If you want, if you have already envisioned yourself somewhere, then you try to channelize that like uh, that dream into what steps could be taken further. But a lot of people may not sometimes have uh, a vision that probably they want to see themselves in, or like, okay, I want to become this, I want to become that, but it's a vague, okay, I wish I was this, I wish I was this, I could have done this. How would you, like, is there also a way that you could help them or guide them that, okay, if there's so much noise, there's so much chaos, maybe I could help you find the right path, find the right direction?
Yeah, so you're asking if they're not exactly sure which direction they want to go into.
Yeah.
Is that the question?
Yeah. I mean,
how do we start?
Yeah, if it's like, I have a clear vision or a clear dream, but I'm not able to move forward because I have this fear or whatnot. You said that's bringing me back or holding me back. So you help them, like, come over their fears, come over those challenges, and walk towards that vision or the dream. But now it's like a vague dream I had. Like, even when you sleep, I don't remember my dreams. So it's funny, I'm using this analogy, but I'm saying, I do not have a clear vision or a clear dream. How would that person get benefited, or is there also a way that you could help them?
Great question. So if there is no clarity, which happens actually very often when we begin work, that's where, like, the world is my oyster, but
Yes.
which direction do I go into?
Yeah.
So we go on a journey to explore through different angles what might be lighting them up. We look back often to see what were some of the signs that appeared in their life. That one of the exercises I take them through sometimes is I ask them to review what were the moments of highest aliveness and highest satisfaction in their life, looking back across different areas. And we tease out some of them to see, can we work with some of these ingredients to bring more.
Yeah, okay.
We ask questions. So some of it is a bit of mental work. Other pieces are a bit more emotional, energetic, and soulful. So on the mental piece, we can ask these questions. I can ask them these questions. We can unravel it. I love the question of, what would you love written on your tombstone? Or I get people to journal a lot and reflect. Or, for example, if you could do anything, like, what were some of the things that you would be doing? One of the games I like to play, or an exercise for them to do, is a 3 lives game, where I say it's just starting to massage a little bit their dream muscle that has been atrophied sometimes. And the question is, if you had 3 lives that had nothing to do with the current life, like nothing, you couldn't even have the same people in your life. You can't have your spouse or your kids or your dog. You're not allowed to take it with you into this other timeline.
Already sounds
Where
interesting.
would you be living? What would you be doing? And who would you be with? And it's such a simple question. People can play it over a dinner at a holiday party.
Yeah, it already sounds interesting to me.
It starts like just cueing you in a little bit of what you might be, what you might tap into. And when we do, when we start working together, I like to take a pulse of where we are today. Where is a person today? And one of the ways we take a pulse is we work with a tool called the Wheel of Life. So it's a wheel that has spokes like a bicycle wheel, and each spoke represents one area of your life, your love life, your career, your relationships, your family, your health. And I ask the individual, how satisfied are you today in each area out of 10, 10 being your most satisfied? And the caveat is there not to tune into what it should be for you. Like, if an area is in family, for somebody satisfaction will mean like a lot of time with their family. For another person, that's not what makes them satisfied. And we tune in to see how today you feel in that area, and what would a 10 out of 10 be like. So even if an individual who came to me might not have a clue what they might want, when we start looking at what is it today, conversations start going to what I don't want often or what's not working. And it's one of the biggest clues to tell us what we do want. It's the other side of the coin, knowing, and we don't need to get too stuck in that conversation of what I don't want, but we can start teasing out the patterns and seeing what's not working to then, well, what would a 10 out of 10 feel and look like? And to get more into the emotional state, which is a big state that I work with individuals, we do it by, I take people into a meditative visualization state where we drop in several layers and we access a dream state. And what I call it, and some of my teachers call it this way, it's remembering the future.
Okay, remembering the future.
So we drop into a state where you're in a different wavelength now. So you're in a theta or alpha brain wavelength, brainwave. And in those brain waves, alpha or theta, you're much more relaxed. Your heartbeat is much more stabilized. Your parasympathetic system is relaxed. And you can access a more deeper, soulful, deeper conscious, more like towards your subconscious state. Where I find in those states, the layers of shoulds or what I need to be doing, they just fall away. And something true can come through, something that feels and sometimes surprises people, that feels alive, that feels like a heart's desire of what they might want. So we do these kind of exercises too.
I'm super intrigued about the meditative state, alpha, beta. Like, is there a process that you do to reach there, or is it like achievable for individuals who like are not going through your session?
Well, I find anyone who meditates, we often go into an alpha state during meditation. A theta state is a little bit deeper, and it's a state that's a bit more hypnotic. You go into that state when you play video games, for example. You're like hypnotized into that in that state. And when I get people to close their eyes and enter this meditative state, I take them through several layers of relaxation and suggestions to go into that state. You can take yourself there if you'd like, but I find working with a professional is really it's much more easier and accessible.
Much more easier and accessible.
And I call it remembering the future because I find we're playing with memory there, but in a really creative way. It's been it's known now that we can go back and we can rewrite our past memories, which is really neat. And when people create their memories, when they capture their memories, if you take multiple individuals at the same scene of an event, a crime scene, and then they're asked what happened, they will all have different memories. The memories will differ, which is really interesting. And the power of your memory will be to the extent that your senses were activated during the memory creation. The more senses came online, like your hearing, your auditory, your visual, your smells, the memory is going to be more powerful.
Yeah, you attach your memory to senses, to your
senses.
Yeah.
So when we go with these tools and we either discover what the dream will be, or we work with an actual dream and use visualization tools to go into the future, into a timeline in the future where that reality exists, we are creating a memory. We're creating a future memory.
Okay.
We are getting an individual to, I really believe this. I believe it's like what we truly desire with our hearts. It's like our future self is calling that in for us to experience. So it's like we're remembering the future. And in that state, when we play with this, I invite the person to activate as many of their senses. So we activate the matrix of the senses to come online. What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are the smells? What are the sounds? To make that memory as vivid as possible so it can be anchored and felt. And I say what can be felt cannot be unfelt. And our mind cannot distinguish between an active imagination, an active visualization, and reality.
I have a lot of questions here. Yeah. So you said rewriting the future, right?
I said
Remembering the future.
remembering
And
the future.
I thought it also had something with writing the future.
I believe yes. in
Okay,
a
so
way.
so let's say if you said remembering the future, I mean that means it has already happened and you're going back to the memory and
I believe our future is not set in stone, and if we want to get metaphysical about it, I believe there's multiple timelines of what can happen, and we have a certain creative power of being deliberate about where we want to go.
yeah.
The way that I work with visualization is I use it as a key, as an entry point, as a doorway to activate a certain emotional signature to connect the person to what they would truly want in their heart and their soul. Because when we go after certain goals and dreams, we do it because we want to feel a certain way. Everything that you've dreamed of having is because you attach a certain emotion, a certain feeling. So in this parkour, in this journey, the play here is, yes, we go into the future, we create a memory, but the goal is so that the feelings, the senses that are associated with it can come online and be activated so we can revisit it again and again. But the actual picture of what you've visited does not have to be the same way. And one of the, I find, hardest lessons is to let go of how it's going to happen and to let go of what the actual picture is going to be. The actual vision so we're creating this vision of something. The actual reality that's going to happen we need to allow it to be that or maybe so much better.
Yeah, okay.
But how you want to feel is the key. So I kind of see it as the back door to go in, create the picture so that you let yourself feel the feels, you turn the key, and then you activate it as many times as possible. And the journey towards that reality, once we activate it, I say, like, it starts coming towards you, it starts merging with your current reality. The journey towards it will depend on many things, on whether you're ready for it or not, what the fears, the beliefs that might exist that might be standing in the way, and how often are you embodying today the feeling that you were calling in. Because we cannot create something from a state of not having enough, not being good enough, or lack. If I'm going to be creating from inside of that space, the thing that I want is always going to be at arm's length to me.
Yeah.
So the journey after the creation is like, how can I start embodying that future self as much as possible, the one that's living my dream, with the kind of thoughts that I have, the kind of beliefs that I have, the kind of emotions that I'm experiencing? How can I start being using emotional hygiene, just like we have all kinds of physical hygiene. And so it's a whole other conversation around emotions and
Okay. And I'm super curious also to know, let's say, how far you can see your future or the dream. The reason I'm asking, I'll tell you, but
it's a great question. As far as you can envision as far into your future as you want, as far as your imagination will take you.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking is because let's say if you've started, how long you've started doing this?
It's been, so the coaching I started 4 years ago.
What was your first experience when you did this?
So I've had many experiences, but actually part of my journey of becoming a coach was exactly 4 years ago.
Okay, 4 years ago. Okay.
Exactly 4 years ago, I was running a creative agency with a partner, and I had a startup. And a few years before that, I realized I was miserable in it, and that wasn't my dream. In 2017, I came to realize that I actually was disconnected from my dreams. And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing. I felt like my dream muscles were completely atrophied, and I couldn't even feel like I would wake up at night and I would have these kind of callings and visions, but they felt so far away and kind of impossible. And I was afraid to dream. So I went on a several-year self-discovery journey, so to speak. And at the beginning of 2019, I made an intention, a statement to myself that this is the year I'm going to change my life.
Okay.
I'm going to say yes to myself in a way I haven't before. I knew I wanted to coach people. I had no idea how it was going to happen. It felt like it's going to be a big journey that's going to take years to make. And at the beginning of that year, I also, I was so stuck in where I was, my physical body started giving way. And I got sick, and I
mean, there were signs, but you were not able to identify those. Okay.
Yeah, I was ignoring the signs, and the body takes its toll. Yeah. And I developed a weird like eczema, like skin condition. And it was just at the turn of 2019, and I told myself, okay, I'm going to take all of the teachings that were taught to me and actually start practicing them. And I sat down. I remember that March or February, and I began doing a Wim Hof every morning, which is the breath work. Yeah. And then I would drop into a deep meditation from the breath work afterwards and sit and meditate every morning and start utilizing the protocols that my mentors and teachers were using me. And there was a specific protocol I utilized to listen to my inner voice and self. And I began hearing myself and starting to take new steps, and my skin condition went away in about a month.
Wow.
Through a series of several events that year that were completely serendipitous and like crazy, I came to learn about a technique of time traveling and practicing your future reality that a woman she shared this, she passed it on to me, that I knew I wanted to do something with. A friend who was a coach invited me to collaborate with her on creating a mastermind. Then we collaborated to create a retreat. And all of a sudden, my confidence shut up. I felt like, wow, I could actually do this work. There's gifts inside of me, and people benefit from them, and I can share them. And so now it's fall 2019. All of these things are happening. I'm still stuck in my job of having this startup that's not moving anywhere, and having the agency with my partner at the time. I'm in an unhappy relationship, and I make a decision that I am going to leave this relationship, I'm going to leave the startup, and I'm going to leave the agency. And I remember sitting and visualizing and taking myself into the future for several months by the end of the year, and feeling how easeful the transition will be. Because at that point I was so scared. I had no idea how it was going to transition, and I felt that I was going to be letting people down by exiting. I felt all this heavy like weight on me. And I'll go into a bit more detail here, but
sure.
At this women's retreat that we co-hosted with this woman who invited me in, we did a ritual where I let go of something that was holding me back, and I asked to let go of whatever was holding me back. The next morning, I come into the office, and by accident, my partner revealed to my team that I was thinking of leaving, which then opened a can of worms, and it was like my worst fear coming true. And it was like things hit the fan, as they say. However, it was like the biggest gift in disguise. I had to feel my fear, and I had to feel my anger. But within a week, people were supporting me, and people were accepting, and we worked out a transition plan. And then within several weeks, I was free. And I realized the power of that intention, but as the year was coming to an end, I began practicing this technique that I learned with people. I was just taking on every friend, every acquaintance, and taking them into the future to practice this future rehearsal technique. And I knew somehow I'm going to be offering this to people as part of my offering. And by the beginning of 2020, I began utilizing more tools. I started charging for my work. I realized I have a lot of tools in my toolbox to help people overcome blocks, and I began coaching.
Nice.
And then I continued taking programs and learning and picking up more tools to embrace myself as a coach, and start coaching later on more and more. But it was just a crazy journey where I remember looking back at the end of that year, beginning of 2020, and saying, hold on, like I dreamed that, I visualized that, I went into my future, and I felt how smooth it can be without knowing how it was going to happen, and then it happened.
Actually, that was my question. So, yeah, when I started, like, okay, when did you first experience it? And firstly, thank you for sharing your story. And yeah, I wanted to ask, like, the first time you ever experienced it, and like, you must have seen your future. And I wanted to know from your perspective, how different is your future that you have envisioned to your current reality? So I know it's a process, but I mean, at least for people to understand, oh, can I just envision and, you know, it'll happen? Or like, how difficult, how challenging it is?
I think it continues moving. So this is what I was saying before. I don't recommend getting stuck on a picture of what it needs to look like. It's more, how do I want to feel? And one of the questions I get asked a lot is, people feel scared. Oh, what if I visualize this and I'm practicing this, but then I change my mind? Like, you know,
Yeah,
we all want to have options.
I wanted to see myself as someone, or like this person, but now I changed my mind. I want to see it this way.
Yeah.
And my dream, would it happen that, okay, you know?
And I'm one of the first people who wants to have options in my life, and I don't want to like get myself
directly into. Yeah.
So what I have learned, and I had to learn it for myself, is it's really attuning to the feeling that I want to have on a daily basis, practicing my emotional hygiene on a daily basis. And I can tell you that 4 years ago, I did not dream of taking my inner artist online. Last year, it became an active realization in my field, and I started dreaming of being a performing artist as well. So did I visualize it before? No. But I have visualized certain things that have come true. So for example, I had a vision for a while now of working with, when I do my vision work, I'll work with individuals. Many of them lead companies. And sometimes I'll work with them to create a vision for their business as well. And my dream has been to work with employees of a business to not only have the business aligned and have a vision, but have employees that come in have access to their personal visions, so that the business vision and employee visions can dance together.
Yeah, blend.
And the people can be happy in what they're achieving, or they can realize, you know, this is not for me, I need to be somewhere else. And that actually benefits the business and the person.
So did you meet with all the employees that work?
So what happened recently is, one of the clients who had experienced me doing vision for his business, for his life, for his wife's life, came to a realization that he loves this work so much, that he wants his management team, his executive team of 10 people, to experience it too. So we had this conversation around the summer, and we launched the program, and just this fall it came true, and I realized, wow, I've always been dreaming of doing it. Now this is happening.
Sure.
Now another client had another team event that I just did this Friday, where she brought me in to do like an online virtual workshop for her team, to connect them to their personal dreams, and I took them through exercises together.
Wow.
I'm like, wow, like I'm getting to do this work
within
this corporate setting, and it's something I've dreamed about. So those are some kind of come full circle pieces. And to answer the question around changing your mind, I find it's never a problem to change our mind. It's like when those fears come up, or when those questions come up with people, I like to say it's like you're sitting at home and you're about to watch Netflix. And you click a channel and you start watching a movie and you realize you don't like it, you just click another channel. So as long
as you're comfortable with what you feel is right? Yeah, okay.
And so when you're visualizing something, you're usually doing it because it makes you happy, it makes you come alive. You can, if for some reason when you start taking steps towards it, first of all, in action, in taking steps, we start understanding if something is for us or not for us. So as we take the steps and we start getting feedback from our inner world and outside world, we can course correct.
Yeah.
And we can turn to another channel.
You can flow with how it feels like, and then I already already see 2 points. One is good and one is bad. I mean, the first, I'll start with the good, that if I see the future, let's say if I remember the future, I already know it's going to be bright because I'm visioning it, I'm channeling it. So even if it doesn't work, I am optimistic that it would work someday, because I'm putting all my attention, emotional attention and everything, like my mental and emotional attention, for a better future. That means I'm still, like, even if I'm struggling through something in life with a difficult phase, I still know that, it's going to happen. I mean, there's a hope.
Yes.
Yeah,
belief, yes.
A belief that it might happen, it's going to happen, or it will take time maybe. And the other side, like people on the negative, who would take it negative, is like, I envisioned it and it's not happening. I envisioned it's not happening. So
what you're saying is that people might, if they've envisioned something and it's not happening, then people might experience like loss of hope or
disappointment, and like, I'm feeling not good. I was hoping that this would work for me, but it's not working. So
it's an interesting point, because I find there are several ways to approach it. I find that the tool of visualization, it's a great tool that many Olympic athletes, many professional athletes have been using for decades now. And I would say the insiders and kind of in Eastern, especially philosophies, people have been using it for many, many, many years. When we are going into visualization to experience what we would like, we are practicing the muscle of saying yes to the thing that we want and embodying that identity of who can get there. So imagine an athlete who goes in and practices doing, swimming laps or shooting the hoop. Your whole body starts responding to it. Like your muscles, your neural pathways respond, and you're getting the repetitions. When something is absolutely new that you want in life, you've never done it before, and when you've never done something before, sometimes fear can arise, our cortisol levels rise, we have a stress response in the body. But when you can go in and practice something over and over again, your stress response is going to go down because now you're getting habituated. Your body and your nervous system gets used to it more and more and more. So I can tell you that with athletes, it helps them to get to the, but is there, from several Olympic athletes who are practicing it, only one is going to get the gold medal?
Yeah, absolutely.
So not everyone is going to get
everyone envisioned it, but it's...
So you could, it depends how you look at it. You could get there, but the grip on having something be exactly the way you want it is where the suffering, I find, will happen. I find the suffering in this journey happens in two categories of when we go into the how and when we go into the when. When we go into the how and the when, we're here. When we connect to the why and the what, we're in love.
Why and what,
And when I'm going into the visualization and activating, especially like the emotions, I am setting myself up to be in a positive state. And from that state, I am able to, from that open state, I am able to connect more to my, like we talked about the brain waves. When I'm in theta and alpha, I am more tuned in to my intuition. I'm more tuned into my heart. I'm more tuned in to opportunities that might be coming my way, to someone saying, hey, you should meet this person. If I'm in fear, I'll be like, no, it's never gonna work. You know, people, they're blah, blah. When I'm in a certain state where I'm taking care, again, emotional hygiene,
you listen to the intuition.
I'll be more in tune where I'm being guided. And the universe might want to guide me to the thing that I want in a different way than I had ever imagined. The elegance of the algorithm of the universe is much deeper, much wiser, much more elegant than what I could ever think in my head is possible. And you know, I work with different clients who come towards their dreams as we work. And so one of my earlier clients, we created a vision for her in like May, June 2020. It was a few months after I began working. And her vision has come true. And now we are just doing a new vision. Did it come true in exactly the same way? No. But it came true in a way that she had envisioned, or even better. She's very satisfied with where she is.
Okay.
So
already promising.
So now we're creating a new one. Is it going to be exactly like we just created a new one? Is it going to be exactly the same way? I don't know. You know, and some examples are very specific. Like, for example, I worked with a client, and he wanted to find an ideal home, and they were ready to find an ideal home with his wife. Like, we worked in November. They were ready to find an ideal home in April. A month after we did this visualization journey, he called me or messaged me and said, oh my God, Darya, we just decided to start looking at homes just for fun, and we can't believe it. We found this place that we were looking for. It has the same features, things like trees in the backyard, like, it's too early, but I think we're gonna get it. Wow. So they were not attached to the timing. There was a connection to the what. And in that example, it's like a very precise realization of the dream. In other cases, I don't think it's going to be precise. And when I work with people's dreams, I really dig in, and I think this is important for anyone, even just connecting to your own dreams on your own. We dig into the why. And I find this is where the rubber meets the road of, are you wanting something for the right reasons? Are you wanting this because your heart is ablaze with fire and you just love the idea of it, it makes you come alive? Or are you wanting this because you should be, because you need to validate, because you think it's the right thing? And often I find if it's for the wrong reasons, you're going to somehow get redirected. Or you're going to get that goal, but you're not going to be happy with that goal.
Because you never intended to do what you were just like you were trying to prove your worth, or just trying to.
And I had examples of working with one client where there was a specific, so she was in this corporate job, and she was being challenged with the team that she was on, of connecting with them, etc. And her goal was to get a certain promotion, to get the next promotion within that organization. And we began working at the beginning of the fall. The promotion would have been announced like in December for the next year. And I knew that the goal of getting that promotion is not necessarily the way to go. So, but I cannot, it's not my job to redirect the client. So as we're working with her,
how did you get to know that it's not right for her?
It's not that it's not right for her, but there was a certain grip into needing that to be happy. So if I need a certain goal to feel happy,
it was sort of her validation.
I would start questioning it.
Yeah, okay.
And so we did the work around, we did a lot of inner game work on her inner confidence and her inner state. And I was giving her a lot of tools to start shifting and empowering herself in her inner state. And when we did the vision work with her, so the dream was to get the promotion, but what she was seeing is a lifestyle that would offer her. So her having early days from work with her kids, being at peace, feeling confident, feeling empowered, feeling like she's in her power basically in her work. When the holidays came, she was to have a conversation with her boss, and not only did she find out that she's not getting the promotion, she was also told to start looking for another position. That almost crushed her. So on the outside, it might look like, hey, this thing is not working. I'm coming back to your question of like, the thing that I want is not working. Like, we're not doing the right thing. And because she had a lot of the tools that she was already equipped with, she didn't go down a big crash. It was happened just before the holidays. Over the holidays, she managed herself, and we redirected her towards, she started playing the piano and like a lot of self-care and self-love, more confidence work. And she came from a state of believing that nothing is possible. There's no other job openings for her because she's very high up already. She was, to her, she was already at the best organization in her field. Like nothing, it's like, where else am I going to go? This is like the best thing. This is the end of the world for me. I would have to move to the opposite continent. January rolled around, and from that state of more like relaxation and letting go and trust, she received a phone call where an organization that was a different organization in the same city was looking for somebody. And through like a few meetings and networking, they offered her a position with an amazing salary, amazing like bonuses. Somehow she was still keeping her options open, but somehow over the next few months, she said yes to them. She got a great bonus to leave the previous job. Everything just transitioned out. By May, she also got like a month to rest in between. By May, she was starting this new position. She was with an amazing team where she felt appreciated, gifted in her confidence. And I remember having this conversation with her. I'm getting goosebumps. It was like May.
Me too. It warms my
she
heart
was
already.
Walking her kids to school, and she realized, like, hold on, this thing that I envisioned is happening. It just did not happen the way that I had thought I wanted it to happen. I got redirected, and it felt like painful. But I will choose if I'm suffering or not, or if I'm going to listen to the universe and how it wants to redirect me so I can have exactly the dream that I want.
I totally understand. You said goosebumps. I have goosebumps too. I'm like, it warms my heart when I hear of such stories, and I always tell people there's always good in the bad. You always think that, oh, it's happening to me, but there has to be a point when it has to end in a way so that there's a new beginning for that, that end. So a lot of people I've spoken to, like, they were like, oh, I'm having this bad day and whatnot, a bad time, and I'm like, there's always good in the bad, and it's something's good going to come your way. So that's what I always believe, and I've seen it happen over and over. And I also wanted to ask you this question, because you said you can do, like, you're done with one dream and then you're starting a new dream. Is it not that you're getting or opening up your desires to dream more? I mean, because if I'm asking, the intention is like, because you said if there is a right intention, we would do it. But is it not that, okay, at some point you're also trying to get greedy? Or like, okay, I'll do this, and now I'll start a new dream, and then I'll make sure I'll achieve that dream and then continue to do. So it's like a cycle instead.
Wait, tell me more about this greedy piece. That
Greedy piece is like, okay, this is my dream and this is like my goal in life, that I want this, let's say this, but I achieved it and I'm still not happy because I'm already starting to look for another dream instead of experiencing what I've dreamt of.
Yeah, well, I don't think it has to be one or the other. I believe to really lead a happy life, I believe it's important to, first of all, let yourself enjoy the journey. I know it's such a widely used statement. However, I think it's one of the truest ones. So if I am wanting that thing, that dream, and I'm only going to allow myself to feel how I want to feel once I get it, but the whole path towards it is filled with misery, like...
Yeah, that's not...
I don't believe that's the right way to go.
Absolutely not.
I believe at that point, once you get the thing, you're going to feel it and then it disappears.
It crashes, yeah.
So one of the barometers is, as I'm walking towards my dream, and this is where emotions and feelings, it's like our tuning forks, am I feeling good as I'm walking towards it?
Yeah, that's why they say journey is important than the destination. But my question was about the greediness aspect. Is like, okay, I achieved this dream and I'm feeling okay. I've channeled it, I've envisioned it, and I'm experiencing it, and I'm enjoying the journey, but I've reached a certain level. And no, but I'm already thinking of another dream. That means either the dream I've started was not my actual dream, and it was like a trial and error, that okay, I wanted to become that, and then I reached here, or I wanted this, I achieved it, but I'm still not happy.
I believe,
to an extent,
I believe our dreams are boundless, and we get to have as many dreams as we allow ourselves to have. I also believe that our path of evolution is through satisfying our needs, our desires, and then continue. Like, I believe we are meant to have new desires, and the difference is there. Like, is that desire consuming you?
Yeah.
Or it's like it's your relationship to desire. It's desire in itself. I don't believe is a problem. It's the relationship to the desire, to the dream. And in my line of work, I invite people, and I believe it's very important to celebrate your dreams coming true, and to be very humble with them, to walk humbly, and to celebrate every day. So one of the biggest practices I practice myself, I give my clients to practice. I'm sorry, I think I keep on bumping the microphone. Is the practice of appreciation and gratitude daily. And there's so many fun games to invite into our life to practice. So the most obvious thing is, at the end of the day, you write down, what was I grateful for today, what was I appreciative of. But throughout the day, sometimes I ask people to do this exercise of snapping, like capturing snaps or snapping moments of satisfaction throughout the day. It's the same thing. We're bringing our attention to what we are delighted by, what we appreciate. So like this feels so satisfactory. The hot water in the shower feels so satisfactory. That way I'm in presence and appreciation in as many moments as I can find. I can give myself a challenge, like how many moments of satisfaction can I find today? Yeah. So when I achieve something, when I achieve a dream, it's up to me if I'm going to let it in or if I'm going to be on to the next thing. Yeah, but why can't I have both? Why can't I let it in, share the love, share the joy, allow myself to have it, and dream on?
I mean, yeah, I think it's again individual. How do I say individual's way of taking it. I mean, if you want to move on quickly, the reason I asked, because you said you already had a client who started on her dream, and as soon as she achieved it, and now she's already on the second dream. I mean, I'm not trying to see why, but I'm saying, like, is it not that okay? The first dream, I'm trying to understand in this way, that was the first dream different than the second dream, like?
So maybe this will clarify it. When I work with clients on doing the vision for what they would like, so for her, I think you're referring to the client with whom we did a vision for her. We did a vision for her business, actually. And when I do those visions, I invite people to dream into 3 years from now.
Okay.
So you might have dreams that are like, I want this within a year. And it may or may not happen within a year, and that's fine. But when I work on life visions or business visions, I usually go in like 3 years into the future. I find it's a comfort zone where 5 years out, 10 years feels like can feel a little bit unattainable, and it can make the path between you and a dream like a bit too far-fetched, and too close to now might feel a bit limiting in what I can allow myself to dream into.
Yeah, so I mean, the dreams, again, the dreams should be realistic in a theoretical sense. I'm saying realistic, not dream wise, but realistic in a theoretical sense that could be achievable, not like unachievable, irrelevant. Oh, I want this much of money, I want this, like, could be.
They could be about money, they could be about physical things.
Okay. But attainable, and.
But it's important that you start believing
that you could do it.
In it, and so the practice of the visualization is one way to get yourself to believe in it.
Okay.
I would say that when people start practicing this deliberate way of creating their reality, starting with smaller things, starting with elements that you can prove to yourself, oh, this I can do this. But the dream, as long as it is within the physical bounds of this reality, I would say go for it.
Go for it, okay.
Again, if it might be too much of a stretch for your mind today, that you might want to go with smaller pieces if you want to start trying it. But I always, like, my job in my work is to stretch the person beyond what they thought was possible in their dreaming.
Okay.
That I believe anything is possible for you to have.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, anything you aim to achieve or you dream of is always possible.
It's possible. As
long as, again, the intent behind and how much you're willing to achieve it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
if there's no intention, then there's no achievable aspect to it.
And coming again to the why behind it, I find that so important, because that why is going to be your fire, your fuel to take your steps when things are going to get hard. Okay. Like you might get tested, and are you going to still continue? Is there still that fire to keep you moving? Yeah. And the depth of the why is going to get you through that. Just on willpower alone, we cannot go through far. And okay. I don't believe we're meant to.
Okay. And you mentioned about short-term, long-term versus medium-term goals. So short-term is like you have too much of pressure to do or achieve it, versus long-term it's too far to be fetched. So it's like medium that works.
Well, you can play with these tools. Okay. Like, I play with these tools on a daily. In the morning when I'm meditating, I'll prepave. Prepave is a term that one of my teachers uses.
Prepave.
I'll prepave how I want parts of my day to go, how I want to feel at the end of the day. After my meditation, I'll connect to an intention, and I'll connect to the way that I want to feel at the end of the time horizon of certain events. Like, I'm having client meetings, I'll imagine how I feel and how we feel together at the end of the client meeting. I'm not getting into the how it's going to go exactly, into the details, but I'm prepaving. I let myself embody and feel all the feels of feeling satisfied, inspired, proud, like joyful, relieved, happy, whatever.
Nice.
The example I gave you with the transition that I made into coaching, like, that was within several months. So you could use these tools for short-term pieces. But if you are envisioning having a certain income level within a month and your reality is not representing it, and it's just too much for your mind to wrap around, because you're not embodying the identity who can make that happen yet, or who is willing to make that happen yet, there's going to be a lot of resistance.
Yeah, that's why I said, like, realistic and achievable should be, at least.
I think yes, realistic and achievable, and I would preface by saying like I would stretch it a little bit, because if I just say realistic and achievable, then it's goal setting.
Okay.
And to me, we're not working with goals. We're working with dreams.
Okay, yeah, this is a new concept to me. So I'm like, sometimes I'm just going because I mean, the reason I was mixing it up probably with goals is like how I talk to people or how I used to, because I'm from fitness industry too. So like I always tell my friends if they're trying to achieve something, don't have short-term goals or too long-term goals, but have something that's realistic and achievable. Oh, I don't want to, like few people come like, I want to lose, 10 kgs in 10 days. You could do it, but it's not that good for your body. It's
So
like,
in that sense, yes,
like, yeah,
I agree. So you could like using the SMART goal framework.
Yeah.
Can it be
Specific,
measurable,
measurable,
specific, measurable,
attainable,
realistic, the timelines.
Yeah.
So we play with that, but then and that could be like putting a goal into a visualization absolutely can work.
Okay.
So it's up to you how dreamy you want to get with it. So for example, when I work with visualizations, we go into very specific things. So it's very specific, and we always go into the future where it already has happened, and so you're looking back at it having happened, and we parachute ourselves into a moment of celebration. So we're actually celebrating achieving the goal, achieving the dream, and this is our anchor. So the person decides how will you celebrate it when it happens. We land into that moment in the future together in the visualization, and then start expanding the picture of what's happening in your life.
Oh wow. Okay. Sorry. So maybe I understood now clearly. Like I was having a different image in my mind when you said you go in the future and rewrite or remember your future. So that means you go to the moment and celebrate the moment that has already happened. So you celebrate as if you have already achieved the dream in future. Okay.
I mean, you could, some techniques are going into the future and being in that moment. Like if you're an Olympic athlete, you might be going into the moment of it happening. But I like to take a person further out so that it's already in the body. It feels like it's complete, it's done, and you're celebrating it.
Okay. I don't know, I'm smiling just because I just remembered something. I always talk about, living in the moment. And I've had podcasts where I've met people who can help you take, it's called past life regression. And then, they can help you with past lives and your past trauma, and you're taking us to the future and future dreams. So I'm just trying to understand, are we trying to better our presence with doing these? I mean, it's a vague question. I'm just trying to understand, because we always say live in the moment, but we're still trying things to go either in the past or in the future.
Well, it's is the question, how do we live in the moment while still practicing these things?
I guess. I mean, I'm still trying to understand, because yes, we want to live in the moment, but we're still worried about the past and the present or the future. But I know it's in a good way, but I'm just trying to use this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's different ways to answer that. So if I'm working with visualization to be deliberate about my future, I don't want to do it from a worried state. I'm not worried about the future. I'm doing it from a creative, excited, joyous state, and I'm not grabbing. I don't have a iron fists around it happening that way. So actually, instead of worrying about the future, I'm prepaving my future.
Okay.
While also letting go of it, having that way. And yes, you're right. Many folks, I believe, are either like replaying the past and being anxiety about it, or being in fear and anxiousness about what's going to happen. Well, if I have trauma from the past, I believe I don't necessarily have free will, because the traumatic responses are going to keep me in the loop. And this is a whole other interview conversation that we can have, because I'm studying something called core energetics. I'm in practitioner training, which a lot of it has to do with our unpacking our emotions. But just briefly to touch on this, I believe most of us don't have free will if we are in these loops of reaction based on past experiences. So I'm not free to respond to the present moment. I am going to be in reactionary mode. And the moment I become free is when I work through these pieces and now can make a choice how to respond. So it's all part of the individual's choice. Like, am I going to be, how much work I will do to free myself, so to speak, how deliberate I want to be without grabbing onto it and becoming obsessive, and how present can I also stay. And I think it's a dance that we're dancing with.
Dance and left and right.
We are partially
being
like
in the center.
It's like, it's like breath. We're breathing in and breathing out, or the universe that's constantly expanding, but it's expanding like this. And to me, this is a conversation of being in the masculine energetics or in the feminine energetics. And it doesn't mean female or male. I think we have both. So I'll have both, you have both. And I am dancing with both throughout the day, depending on where I need to be. So I'm taking the breath in. I believe, to me, it's like the masculine. I'm penetrating the reality. I am taking an action step, and then I'm breathing out. I'm going into receptive state. When I am creating a vision, when I'm taking that as an action, to me, that's being in my masculine energy. But then I'm taking a step back, and I'm listening to the signs from the universe, picking up what opportunities are there lining up for me. That's me being in my receptive and feminine. And for me to do that, I need to be present in the moment, because I'm going to miss it if I'm not.
Yes. Makes sense.
So it's a dance of both.
Makes sense. Well, thank you for so much of knowledge about the future. And I'm super curious already, because I'm also on this journey where, like, I smiled midway when you were talking about feeling like your body responds in a way. And I feel that for, like, the thing I do. And it guides me. I don't even have to do anything. It just guides me, and I just do it because I think it's with heart. It's like my body wants, and it's my body's response to how I react to it. And I had goosebumps when you were saying, and I was smiling because I could, like, relate to it so much. And I would like to thank you for sharing all this information here. And I would want to know if there's something else you want to add on the ending note. Anything that people could do from their, like, let's say, if in case, I know, like, let's say people who are not here in Canada, who cannot access your techniques, but still want to get benefited.
I'll say maybe a couple of things. I find that taking care of our emotional state is one of the biggest keys. I'm still finding it, and it's consistently surprising me more and more. And that means, to me, freedom really means being able to stay with my emotions and let myself feel them, whatever they are. And because the more that I'll be able to let myself feel my emotions the way they are, the more I can be with them to move through life and to feel alive and to take, inspired action that I want to take. The less I'm going to be, when I'm not willing to feel what's there to be felt, it either freezes in our bodies or it will redivert itself somehow. The energy has to go somewhere. So being in tune with your own emotions is one of the biggest advices, I guess, or suggestions that I would give for people to explore. And I can also be, my emotions and my thoughts are the two pieces that I can be most creative with in creating my reality too. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that I'm bypassing my emotions. I think both are valid and needed. So number one is being able to feel whatever is there and stay present with it. Number two, I can use my emotional hygiene practices. So what that means is I can create a love wave or I can create a joy wave out of nowhere. Imagine that right now, for no reason at all, you realize that whatever it is that you're doing in this moment is because you value something about your reality. Yeah. And if you value that thing about your reality, maybe you can connect it to loving yourself in that moment. And if you connect it to loving yourself in that moment, that's a nice thought to have. Maybe you can connect to loving that thought. Maybe you can connect to feeling appreciation for something. Maybe we can connect to feeling appreciation for this moment together. Maybe we can connect to start feeling appreciation for, I don't know, the moment that's about to happen. And maybe we can start feeling that love in our skin and under our, like in our cells and in our cheeks, and thinking about, I don't know, something else that brings us joy. Like just a few things that I mentioned right now, I already feel more love and joy and connection. Yeah. And taking myself into these states, I will feel more connected to myself from that place of joy and love.
You're creating your own joy.
I'm creating my own. It's like it's a wave. Yeah. And I've done these waves sometimes when something is going off in my day. I can go feel how it makes me feel, but I can also choose to stay in the loop, or I can choose to create a new wave, and my whole day can shift. Nice. So, like, to me, both are valid. And the last thing I will say about being kind of a creator of our own reality is making space for whatever you're calling in. So in this world of deliberate creation, or some people like to use the word manifestation, we call in, we envision something, but then is there space for it to come into your life? So using a practice of decluttering is amazing, because you're literally decluttering your physical space, but it connects to emotional and mental state.
You're holding on to things that probably are in the past, but you try to associate a memory to that particular thing, and you're keeping it. Yeah.
And
trying to relive that memory.
Mental and emotional decluttering too. So one exercise I can give people is make a list with 3 columns and write down this, this week, what are the things I owe to myself? What are the things I owe to other people? What do other people owe to me? Anything that stays in that sphere of like owing, not undone, is emotional and mental clutter. It's all the drawers open.
When you say, oh, like could be anything.
Could be anything. Could be money, could be books, could be apology, could be a trip, could be anything that you feel, a project. And you don't have to write 100 things, but just the most like prominent ones. And then make a decision. If you will never get that money back, forgive and let it go. Don't keep it in your drawer. It's going to take your energy. It's a huge energy leak. Yeah. If you said you owe something to yourself, but now you decided, you know what, I said I'm going to owe myself this trip, and I've been saying it for 5 years, but actually it's not going to happen. Yeah. Take it off the list. Yes. Or if you think it's still going to happen, then write down, like, when is it going to happen? Like, make decisions. Being in a limbo of not making decisions and keeping these drawers open is one of the biggest energy leaks of letting in new reality, like our dreams. Yeah. That's the last thing I would say.
Amazing. Yeah, I always talk about, when I even talk to people and friends, I say that say or forgive even if it's not asked for, and ask, like, apologize even if it's not, like, how do you say, if you do something and even if the person is not expecting it, you still apologize. So these two things, because not the pain and that others. It's not others' pain that, oh, they did it and they're asking for sorry. It's for you to forgive them even though they're not asking for forgiveness. Because I give this example, like, you have this uh, cup of tea and I break it and then just walk, and I for you it would be like, oh, maybe he'll come back and ask for an apology, and you'll be like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, like, oh, Abhishek never came, and slowly you're starting to get frustrated. Frustration becomes anger. Anger becomes like, okay, what's wrong? But that's not your pain to carry. You're carrying my pain, expecting me to ask for forgiveness. So that's
So
why
we
it's
do it
like
for ourselves.
for ourselves.
It's a gift
It's
to
not
ourselves.
it's not for the other person. You do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
thank you. Thanks for sharing this too. And I have this tradition of asking the last question on the show, that like, what's that one thing that's on your priority list or has been on your priority list, but you never got a chance to work on it? And it's like, I know you're doing a lot of things. That's why I asked this question, because we do a lot of things, or we try to focus on energy on so many things, but we always have this one thing in mind. We want to work on it, but it never happens. That, okay, I'll do it, but let me finish this.
Okay, so you want to know what's that thing for me?
Yeah.
So, good question. So it has been for many months starting an Instagram channel for my poetry.
Okay. Awesome.
Which I just did yesterday.
Awesome.
And I posted my first poem on there, and I have so many. So now it's continuing that and saying yes to my dream.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And how does it make you feel?
Proud.
Awesome. And I could see that. Wow, awesome. And congratulations on the journey too. And congratulations for doing this.
Thank you. Also makes me feel like, why didn't I do this earlier?
Yeah. But I think there's always a reason why you didn't do it. And if it's happening now, maybe it's the right time.
Maybe
it needed to start at this point, because it was probably needed that, okay, you do this at this particular time because this time is good for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Darya, and thank you for sharing your knowledge and bringing your knowledge and providing this knowledge here. And I'm super intrigued again. I would definitely like to know more about myself, and I'll definitely connect. But people who are listening, I'm pretty sure like the information you've shared is pretty valuable and pretty useful, and even looking at their emotional aspect would also be super helpful and contributory to the people who are listening. So thank you, and thanks again for what you do and helping people to bring their visions into reality, or at least futuristic reality.
Thank you for having me on.